Welcome to Friday Friends, RI Elder Info's weekly look at the organizations and individuals providing resources for Rhode Island seniors, caregivers, and professionals.
Good morning, everybody. Happy Friday. It is 9 o'clock on Friday, and you are watching me, Deb Burton, Executive Director of RI Elder Info and host of Friday Friends, where every week I bring you information and resources that you or someone you know needs to know about. And today, as we are with all of the month of November, we are discussing information and resources for our veterans in recognition of Veterans Day this month. And today we will be speaking with Paul Murgo from the Bristol Veterans Home. So lots of information to go over, super important for so many people. So make sure you hit the like button, the share button to get this out to as many veterans and their family members as we possibly can. We want to make sure everybody has access to information and resources that they need. Now, as you all know, we are a 501c3 nonprofit, and we could not do this without the support of our sponsors. So a huge shout out to Point 32 Health Foundation, United Healthcare, and McCarthy Law. Here's a message from McCarthy Law.
Here at McCarthy Law, we practice in the areas of estate planning, long-term care planning, elder care law, and residential real estate. Our focus is really on providing peace of mind to our clients.
If you're interested in scheduling a consultation with our office, you can feel free to reach out to us at 401-541-5540. You can also reach out via website at www.mccarthylawri.com. You also should check out our social media, both on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn for some helpful tips and tricks.
Welcome, Paul. How are you today?
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Will you please share with everybody who you are and what you do?
Sure. I'm Paul Murgo, Administrator at the Rhode Island Veterans Home, and I am a nursing administrator. I've worked in and around the healthcare industry for over 30 years now, both state and private sector as well.
That home out there in Bristol is absolutely gorgeous. I have visited it. The chapel there is so powerful, like it really does leave me choked up. For the individuals who are residing there, what are the qualifications to be admitted?
So there are two. One is that you need to be a wartime veteran, and there are specific periods of time that our Rhode Island legislature has set forth that qualify for that. And they're basically World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and most recently the Persian Gulf. And they have specific start and end dates. The second requirement is residency. So you have either were enlisted in the first place and credited to the Rhode Island enlistment roll, or you have been a resident of Rhode Island for at least 2 consecutive years prior to your application.
Okay. So Rhode Island resident having served. And is there paperwork? Do people just come? Are they admitted from the hospital? Like, what does the flow for the veteran or their family or caregiver, what does that look like? When should that process even start?
Try to start ahead of the need. So there's a about 18-month waiting list. There are about 200 people on that list at the moment. That doesn't mean that there are 200 people who would come in tomorrow if I offered them the opportunity, but many of them, knowing there's a wait, will apply in advance of their need. Or what happens most often is someone's at home and they're doing fine. They fall, break a hip, go to the hospital. They need to go 3 weeks into a nursing home and they think, this is the end, Elizabeth, I'm coming, right? And so they apply thinking, I'm going to need the veterans home. And then they get rehab, and then they get home care, and and we'll call them when their name comes up, it might be a year and a half later, and they'll actually say, you know what, I'm actually doing fine at home again. I went through a thing a year and a half ago, and so, they can reapply, put their name back on the list. There is an application, and there is documentation, medical documentation that is required. That is on the director's website, or you can call our front desk and either get it there or we'll mail it to you. But you just need to fill out that application. We use the preliminary application along with the DD-214 to make sure up front that you meet the basic criteria of residency and wartime service. After that, though, comes a medical review, because we need to make sure that this is, in fact, the most appropriate place for you to be cared for. And I'll get into why that's important in a moment.
Yeah, and I just so when someone does the application and submits the DD-214, knowing that there is that wait list,
Mhm.
if the time your name is called from the wait list, if you're not ready, like you said, you are better now, is it a situation that you stay at the top of the list just in case, or do you kind of go back down to the bottom of the list and start over? How does
back to the bottom?
Okay.
The legislation, and for those of you who want to look it up, it's on the legislation website for the state. It's 180 RICR 10-00-3. But if you look up 180 RICR, RICR, it'll come up. Everything about the Veterans Homes regulations is in that one document that anyone would need to know. But essentially, it's fine if you pass the first time, but you will go back to the bottom of the list. Actually, it's technically an inactive list. And you'll have another opportunity when your name comes up again. But then at some point in time, probably after that next time, if you decline again, you're just going to come off, and we're going to say, I'm sorry, you need to reapply because now, over 2 years, a lot of things change.
Okay.
The real, what's important though is about 2 months before it looks like you're going to be coming in, you have to do a thorough medical review to make sure that you are stable and able to be cared for here. So let me just tell you a little bit about the Vets Home and why that's important. So this is a new care concept. It's not just a nursing home, it's a community living center. And we have a mixture of independent assisted living and skilled nursing care all under one roof, and they're all mixed together. They all live in the same, we call them neighborhoods. So we have 6 neighborhoods. It looks like a wagon wheel. And there are 6 independent neighborhoods that have 32 residents on each, for a total of 192 veterans. They all have private rooms, private bathrooms. They have separate living rooms, nurses' stations, and a centralized dining room on each neighborhood. So it's not a cafeteria. It's a home-like setting, or I like to refer to it as a resort-like setting. It would be better. We jokingly call it the Veterans Home Resort and Casino. So it's what makes the quality of life here so high is 2 things. Our staffing ratios are outstanding, without a doubt the best in the industry. So we have wonderful caring staff and plenty of them for the population we have right now. But it's a very open and permissive environment. So our vets all get identification cards, except for those on our dementia unit, of course, but they all get an ID card, and these activate all the locked doors, and all the doors are locked. So they can come and go freely, as long as they're able to. The problem is that if you have somebody who's an elopement risk or has unstable psychiatric issues, substance abuse issues, this is not the right place. It's too open, it's too permissive. So the very aspect of the home that makes it such a wonderful place for 99% of the guys who need it is what will prevent it from being the right place for someone with a different clinical presentation. So about 2 months out, we're going to be reviewing the record to make sure that nothing has changed, nothing has cropped up that we're not able to treat here, and that you're appropriate to come in.
Okay. And you mentioned guys. Are women also able to go there?
Yes, there are only 5 here right now. I think the most I've seen is 7. It's just there are fewer women who were in service in World War II and Vietnam, and those are predominantly the people who are here now. Now, 20 years from now, that will change. Many more women went into service for the Persian Gulf. So when those folks start coming out and needing this level of care, we will have a much higher female census. But right now, we only have 5 in the house.
Okay, that's good to know that it's open to veterans,
Oh, yeah.
all eras, all genders. For your dementia unit, is that where the team that works on that unit has special training to work with individuals with dementia, that kind of thing, or is it just kind of like a separate location? What does that look like in the structure of
Yeah.
the building?
That's a great question. So it's a little bit of both. So the staff that we place there have the right temperament. Not everybody can work with significantly afflicted residents in the dementia realm. And so we make sure that the staff there have the right temperament. They want to be there. They've chosen, they literally bid to that unit. We don't force them to go there. They have to request to go there. And the programming there and the staffing levels and the supervision is entirely different. So there are far more staff there, and there is far more supervision going on because that's really the primary need with that population. Like I said, on my other neighborhoods, there are guys here who have cars. They go out, drive themselves out to breakfast every day. On the dementia unit, totally different.
Yeah.
We need to have eyes on them 24/7. Make sure that they're not getting into anything that's going to cause them harm. So there are more staff, and the programming is geared toward what will stimulate them best. And as you know, I kind of think of it, compare it to a school, right? If you had somebody in kindergarten and then said, today you're going to go to junior high, you're going to be in the 7th grade class, you would be traumatized by the content and the atmosphere. And on the other hand, if you took the 7th grader and put them in kindergarten, they would be bored out of their mind. So the programming is geared for that group, and it would not be appropriate for the rest of the building. And in addition, we have more resources. We have more CNAs, double the number of activities people there. And we change the entertainment, which is therapeutic recreation. We change it to suit that population.
That is really good to hear, because you're right. Not everybody has the right constitution to work with individuals with dementia, and there are sometimes some real challenges around that. So it sounds like it's very thoughtfully prepared for an individual to come in who may have dementia. Yeah. Now, given the facility, I think you said you have, was it 100 in some rooms available?
So the building is structured around 6 32-bed neighborhoods.
Okay.
That would give us a census of 192.
Okay.
There are 16 beds upstairs, which is the domicile. That's an entirely different way of living. It was intended for transitional housing. It's not very highly utilized. There are only 3 people there now. And it's basically an individual who doesn't need any care. They're able to care for themselves, but they've been deemed by the VA to be unable to support themselves. And so at least 2 of the 3 people who are up there have been there for like 15 and 17 years. And at some point in time, they will probably end up, as their health starts to decline, they'll probably end up downstairs. But they get to participate in everything we do in the building. So all the performances, activities, therapeutic recreation, trips, we have our own fleet of buses, we have our own drivers. They get to participate in all of that. It's and the dementia unit, it doesn't mean that there aren't residents who have dementia on other neighborhoods. Right. There are, but we're not, unlike most nursing homes, we do everything we can to not uproot people when we normally might say, it's time to go to the dementia unit. If someone's been on a neighborhood and they're comfortable and they're functioning well and the staff are handling them fine, it's disruptive to move them. So we just let them age in place. So there's scatterings all around, and there's actually one neighborhood, like our C2, our Charlie 2 neighborhood, has evolved into maybe a step-down dementia unit. And that's always been true of the home. There's always been a need for more than one unit for dementia. It's just a little bit less now. The census, though, so when I started right at right in March of 20, when COVID hit, there were in fact 192 veterans here in the building, but we were not able to hire, and a lot of people left the industry, and then veterans died a normal death. And so as that census came down, we could not replace those veterans, and we didn't have the staff to replace them if we wanted to. So over the last few years, I mean, we dropped probably 50 staff. It became an emergency during COVID, and thankfully the National Guard helped us out one summer. And then we were able to do some contract work with an agency that helped us out the next year. But we've been able to, recapture some of that. And so as a result, we had to drop down to 130 residents at one point in time. We had 2 full neighborhoods closed. Just last month, due to the efforts we took this year in hiring, which were extremely aggressive, and we can go into that a little bit later, but we've had the best hiring year we've ever had. And I was able to reopen Alpha 2. So we now only have 1 neighborhood closed by maybe so that unit's half full right now. Maybe in January to February, it'll be full. And we'll have 160 residents here for the first time in 5 years. So we're headed in the right direction.
I feel like if you're a healthcare worker, one of the highest honors that you can do, and I love our healthcare workers in every aspect, whether you, the nurse, the CNA, the social worker, community health worker, like I just have so much respect. It's just, I feel like it would be the highest honor to serve those who have served us. So if there's someone watching who is a healthcare worker or in that field, what positions are you hiring for? What kind of qualifications are you looking for? And of course we all know it's in Bristol. It might involve going over a bridge, but
it might involve a lot of traffic. Yes.
Especially around the 4th of July, just saying.
Mm-hmm.
But who are you hiring for? What would be your ideal candidates to hire so that the additional space can be opened up and appropriately staffed? And by the way, thank you for actually taking the steps to downsize when there weren't enough staff, particularly knowing that there is a wait list for folks to come in, but being mindful that you have to have the staff to provide the continuously quality care and making those hard changes. So now that hopefully we can ramp back up, who is your ideal employee?
So I just want to say that it is our philosophy from the Director Yarn on down, myself included, that we will provide outstanding care, period. And if that means we need to be a little bit smaller to do that correctly, then that's what we'll do. That's what we did. Thankfully, we're moving in the opposite direction now. We're growing. Our what's holding every nursing home in the state back is the lack of CNAs in the industry. So we continuously recruit. We have turnover all the time. All nursing homes do. So there's always some positions open here and there. Most of my nursing positions are full. There might be one that pops up in a couple of weeks and that it'll get filled. But we consistently have scores of CNA positions open. Right now, I think we're hovering around 14 or 15, but it's been over 30. Like at the beginning of the year, it was like 35. So, we've made good movement towards filling that gap, but it's really the CNAs that are the shortcoming in the industry and here right now. And they're the folks that are, really doing the 8 hours a day hands-on care of the residents. So they're critical. So for anybody who's in the area and willing to commute to Bristol, this is an absolutely astounding place to work. I mean, I've worked in multiple private nursing homes, some of the highest caliber and some not. And I've also worked for the state hospital system for 15 years. There's nothing that compares to what we provide here. This is absolutely the best place I've ever worked, and they give the best care I've ever seen in the industry. So I know that our new staff are shocked when they start at just how good it is here. The residents tend to be better and more satisfying to work with. The environment is amazing. The coworkers are amazing. The love that it's, this isn't a factory. The love that the staff bring to the resident, all you have to do is walk around and be quiet. Just walk around and look, and you'll see it everywhere. You can see it on their faces when you're walking around. So there should be no hesitation. I know that there's a lot of disgruntled ex-healthcare workers out there who are saying, I'm never going back to another nursing home. That last experience I had was horrible. This is not that. The compensation is decent. It's there, we're advocating for higher wages, particularly for the CNAs. Our nurses are amongst the best compensated nurses in the state, which is probably why we don't have much trouble getting them. But let's not sugarcoat it. We're in Bristol. Even without the bridge, it's a difficult place to get to if you don't live here. And living here is a bit costly. So, but believe it or not, most of my CNAs are coming. The people who've been here for a long time live in Bristol, because there was a time in the 70s and 80s where everybody who worked here lived in Bristol. If you didn't live in Bristol, you weren't getting in. It's different now, but a lot of my CNAs come from Pawtucket, Fall River, some New Bedford. So they're branching out and they're coming in from the outskirts, and they're doing that. So for the CNAs, the compensation is quite good and the benefits are excellent, but it's not top of the heap, and yet they're driving in to come work here.
Are they considered state employees?
Say that again?
Are they considered state employees?
Yes, so both. Our largest contingent of staff obviously is state full-time employees. They work 5 days a week, every other weekend. But it's no longer possible to run a healthcare facility without temporary workers. For us, that means we've contracted with the agency who's given us, say, 15 full-time staff. So they are regulars. They just don't, their paycheck just doesn't come from the state. We pay an agency, they bring them in. And they're not entitled to the same benefits. They get more money, but they don't have the vacation time, they don't have the pension and all that stuff. And then we have more shift workers. That comes in mostly late nights and weekends, where we might have one, a need on the third shift on a Saturday. Second shift Sunday is another big one, where if you're going to take a day off, you're probably going to take Sunday off. And so our biggest needs are then, and we use agency staff, but the agency staff who come here are actually regulars. They're here every week, 2 or 3 days, or every other week, 2 or 3 days. So they're not people who've never been in the building before. They work here day in and day out. And yeah, they may not work 40 hours a week, but they're here 16 or 24, something like that. So the staffing here is more stable and more knowledgeable of the residents than any other home that I've worked in.
This is awesome. And again, just to recap, who is eligible to go there, and the process again, just real
Yep.
quick?
It's wartime veterans,
Okay.
obviously honorably discharged, wartime veterans who were a resident of the state, either just prior to applying for 2 years, or they were a resident when they were drafted, enlisted, whatever.
Okay. Very good. And plan ahead, because there is a wait list.
Plan ahead. There's a wait list. It's right now. The residents who came in last month came in about 18 months after application. I expect, because I just opened Alpha 2, that influx is going to shave maybe 3 or 4 months off the wait time for a bit. So the next group that comes in until, say, February, they may get here faster, maybe 12 months, 16 months, something like that. But it's, for the history of the home back into the 80s, there's always been a year wait plus, sometimes 2.
Yep. And it speaks to our military members staying and our veterans staying here in the state, to be near family. And that totally makes sense to me. Absolutely. Paul, with everything going on, I'm so glad that you were able to take the time to speak with me today. I know I said, maybe like 10 minutes or so, and I've kept you much longer, but this has been such a great conversation.
It's a pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you so much. I look forward to having you on again.
Anytime. Just call.
Thank you. Everybody, I have toured the Bristol Veterans Home. I toured it before its recent renovations and after, and it is genuinely a beautiful facility. But we all know that beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and it's important to have conversations with the residents. And I'm happy to say that I have been on those units that Paul talked about and spoken with residents, but also been very quiet and listened. And one of the things that's really cool about the Vets Home is the staff there genuinely love their residents. When you're on the dementia unit, it is a peaceful place where individuals are engaged. The staff are engaged with the residents. It is not a situation where, the staff is in the corner on their cell phone, do. No, they're actually engaged with the residents in a kind and caring manner. And so if you are a veteran or the family member of a veteran who meet the qualifications that Paul mentioned, and you think maybe, in the coming year or two, it may be a situation that your loved one does need the assisted living or supported living or the nursing home care or the dementia care, I strongly encourage you, go visit the facility, fill out the paperwork, get on the list. As Paul said, if the time comes and the spot is available and you're not ready, that's okay. You can stay on the list. You do have to go to the bottom, but you can stay on the list. But it is a wonderful facility for you to check out. Now, as you all know, in November, we are dedicating all of our episodes of Friday Friends to resources and information for veterans. So make sure you check us out again all month to hear about some additional resources and information for veterans across the state. In the meantime, I'm looking forward to seeing you all again next week. Be well and be kind.